Live and we are live. Welcome to your Behind the Markets. Welcome to our social media audience. My name is Munyumbu Mutwale, and I'll be taking you through your conversation today on Mindset Monday. We'll be waiting for our radio audience and the tune in of our radio audience, and also my co-pilot Stephanie as she gets a line as she finally clings up to me. And I think we finally do have Stephanie finally joining us in at the moment. But welcome to Mindset Monday. Give us a shout of where you are joining us. Give us a shout of your name and where you are joining us from in the comments section. And how you feel this Mindset Monday as we get started. As we said, we are getting and click in with Stephanie, who is actually about to connect with us right away. And a good morning to you, Stephanie. And how are you doing this morning?
Good morning, Munyumba. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And welcome to It Is Mindset Monday, Stephanie. And the big question we are asking for everybody is when you have a new habit that you want to start, what do you do to encourage yourself to actually start and continue doing that new habit? I don't know. So yeah, anyway, we'll ask Stephanie on that because today we're discussing the art of the start. So the question is, what tricks or what tools or what techniques do you use to encourage yourself to try and start a new habit? Not to try, but to train. Remember, we're getting rid of the use of the word try and we're continuing the word train on our Power to Change series. We have been doing a series on the book The Power to Change by Pastor Craig Groeschel, which has been specifically chronicling the importance of using spiritual and important habits and the five important mindsets in change. And yes, I think we do have Stephanie back here with us. Welcome back, Stephanie. And the question I am throwing out to you, Stephanie, is when you're trying to do something new, positive in your life, what do you do? What are the things you do to make sure that you can do that new habit, whether it's working out, whether it's reading more? What do you do to try and do that new habit?
So, first, I get to prepare myself. I think when your preparation is very important. So, I have to prepare my mindset first. When I talk about working out, I'll really use working out a lot because for me, I think it's a try and stop thing. So, there's a week where you're serious, and the other week you fall in. So, for me, it's preparation. So what happens is that if I do not prepare adequately, then I'm likely not to actually get to progress. So I will prepare number one, and if I'm looking at training, then I'll look at motivation as the second thing for me. So for me to get to do my workouts, what motivates me some more? I'll get to look at colorful things. So for me, if I'm going to go and jog, I need at least some piece of big head sets. I need to have color. I need to be pink and stuff like that, just to get to motivate myself. I think that's what I do.
Okay. Well, everybody has what will work for them. So today we're going to talk about what triggers habits. Because remember, we're talking today about the art of the start, and the important thing you need to look at is what triggers habits. So remember that we are on Pastor Craig Groeschel's Power to Change book. We've been talking about it all year, and that's been the mindset theme for this year: having the power, not the desire to change. So a recap is remember that the power to change, power is the ability and capacity to affect and influence a desired outcome. Desire is the longing, hoping, and wishing. So, Stephanie, you can wish for something you want, but you'll never get it just because you want it. You can only get things
Mm.
where you have the power to obtain them. And power is the ability. So, how do we move from longing to actually having the ability to effect the things that we are looking for? And remember that there are four main mindsets, but five in total. One is identity, not behavior. If you want to change, you must change your identity, not behavior. What action must you engage in? You must stop trying and you must start training. And we've gone through this where we talked about goals are just the
Mm.
beginning, training preparation before discipline and habit execution is greater than goal attainment. Then we said you need to stop hoping and you need to start executing habits. Those are the important things. So, habit execution is much more important than the size of your hope. It's nice to have hope, but it's more important to have habits. That's the most effective thing. And finally, the final mindset of the main four is sowing and not reaping. You must focus your attention. So it's, where is your actual area of change? What effort are you putting into it? What strategy, what tactic must you be doing? And then finally, what must you be focusing on? A lot of people focus on what they will reap, when really they must be focusing on what they are sowing. So we're now on the part of hope, not habits, where we are talking about starting good habits and stopping bad habits. Because usually your outcomes are going to change if you start. Now, one of the reasons why we said habits are important, Stephanie, is that 40% of your day is spent doing things that you do automatically, or what we say habitually. Now, the reality of habits is that they're also very consistent. So the reason why your habits are the most powerful source of your change, even though they're only 40% of your daily activity, is because, Stephanie, your decisions will change a lot. Today you'll make this decision, tomorrow you'll make that decision. But when it comes to your habits, you'll do the same thing over and over and over again. So your habits have got a lot of consistency behind them, so they tend to compound much stronger than your decisions. Right. Now, the so today we're asking the question, why are good habits hard to start? Well, remember when we talked about the discipline, we talked about the pleasure pain trade off. That the problem with good habits is that good habits only bear fruit after a period of pain. The problem and the problem with bad habits is that bad habits are pleasurable at the beginning, but they're painful later. So you get to eat what you want now, but then you start dealing with the weight and the health issues later. You get to enjoy all the illicit substances you want now, but then you deal with the broken relationships and the bad health later. You get to spend all your money now and you enjoy it, but you get to deal with being perpetually broke and poor, actually, throughout your life, because you've stuck yourself in a line of poverty. So good habits require you to actually embrace pain up front, so that the pleasure can be better later. So the problem is that we have to rewire our minds, which are pleasure seeking. Bad habits are are pleasurable upfront. Good habits are painful upfront, and our minds are programmed as pleasure seeking. So it's very important for us to understand our brains and how they operate. In as much as, yes, Stephanie, you are correct. It's very important to prepare. But how do you prepare for the things you want to do habitually? Okay, you do them by making sure you understand how your brain does things automatically. Because, Stephanie, you didn't wake up, you were not born into this world where you switched on your phone and you started going on Facebook. But now you do it automatically. Why? What happened that led Facebook from something you had never seen in your life and never engaged in? But now, when you pick up your phone, the first thing you do is, without even looking, you know exactly how to get to your WhatsApp or Facebook, click it, and you're able to start typing. Why did this happen? How did this happen? Where did you get to this place, Stephanie, where the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning is you look at your phone, or you go straight to your WhatsApp or your Facebook? Where did this come from? How did
And
people
stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. Where did this come from, and how did it become a habit? How have you gotten to a point, Stephanie, where you're doing these things automatically now, as opposed to doing them maybe as and when they're needed? So today we're going to talk about 7 strategies, seven steps to starting a good habit. Now, you don't have to use all of these. These are just 7 things that you want to do for a good habit to make sure that you are able to start doing it. And we're going to talk about, obviously, financial habits and these things. That's the main goal at the end of it. But the 7 things are: you need strong visual triggers. You need to preload the decision. You need to stack the habits on top of things you already do. Engineer it to be attractive. Make it easy. Make it communal. Make it repetitious. So these are the 7 things you need to do to any habit in order to make sure that you start it or you stick to it. Now, visual triggers are quite important, because in order to, if you want to change what you do, Stephanie, change what you see. Because a lot of what we do is based on what we see. So if you re-engineer your environment, you will change what you do. James Clear talked about this in Atomic Habits, where he said, if you want to eat more fruits, then make sure that the things that are visible, we often do this, Stephanie. Snacks, when we go into our kitchen, you'll find that snacks are visible and fruits are hidden at the bottom shelf of the fridge. And it's because we're trying to preserve them, yes. But what ends up happening is, because snacks don't need to be stored anywhere, and fruits are available, are easily available. I mean, are in a hard to reach place. As a result, what ends up happening is we end up eating more snacks than we do fruits. And I've seen this
Mm,
before, done this before. So what you want to do is you
mm,
want to make sure that whatever snacks you have should be in a top shelf of your kitchen or in an unreachable shelf, okay, or a place that's hard to get to. Whether you, in fact, what you want to do is maybe even put a padlock on it so that you have to go get a key, come back, open it. Make sure you put enough steps, but it shouldn't also be visual. Okay, make sure it's something that's not visual. That's not visible. But then when you make your fruits visible, you're more likely to eat them. So the question is, what's visible, what's not visible? So if you make the
mm,
healthy things visible and you make the unhealthy things not visible, then you are more likely to change what you do. Even if you're looking at whether you want to change your behavior, the question is, what are you
mm,
watching? If you're watching certain things, it will trigger certain behaviors. But if you're watching other things, it will also trigger other certain behaviors. So the question is, what are you seeing in your environment? And should you be
mm,
hiding the bad things and then putting up the things that you want to positively reinforce? And also, what are you seeing on your timeline? What's on your social media timeline? If you're worried about the fact of how come whenever I get all my money, I spend it so quickly, perhaps if you're doing nothing but watching videos about guys pumping money to the sky, flossing, clubbing, and partying, perhaps maybe that's what's driving you to those decisions, and you need to revisit what you are looking at. Because if you're
yeah.
watching music videos that are that powerful, perhaps you'll see that your financial efforts will be changed. So tweak your environment. Okay, for example, sorry, this was a bit of a mistake, but what it actually meant to say is if you want to eat less, then maybe eat on smaller plates. Use smaller plates to eat, and you'll find that you're actually eating less. So, environmental tweaks beat self control. If you try and control yourself all the time, the temptations will be strong. But if you just change the environment around you to suit the positive decisions you want to make, then you can be, as it says here, be the architect of your environment and not the victim of it. So change what you see in order to change what you do. Okay, so what are you seeing? What is constantly around you? Change it in order to change what you do. So the power of visual triggers are important. Stephanie, maybe a question is: have you ever tried to now change the visual triggers that are around you in order to change certain habits? Okay. Perhaps let's get to the next one, which is let's get to the next one, which is preloading decisions. So, in other words, commit a time and a location to a decision.
And
So,
they
if
look.
you want okay, I think we're getting some feedback here. Sorry about that to all the audience.
Okay.
So, commit a time and location to a decision. That's another thing you'd like to do as a
So, of
person.
course, into Munyumba, but on the other
We're
side,
here, Stephanie. We're here.
let's get to check what really.
Right. So commit a time and place to a decision. So in other words, remove options. One of the things you want to do is you want to say, if you're going to do something, commit a time and a place to it. And you'll see why this is an important thing because you're playing on time and location triggers. And that's and what you also want to do is remove options because people do poorly with more choice. The more choice you give yourself, the less the more you're actually giving yourself an opportunity to fail. So you need to remove certain options from your life. As people, we like to keep too many options around and we like to keep too much optionality, and as a result we end up failing a lot more at things because there's too many options to do things. I'll do it when I feel like it becomes the point you start doing things. What you're doing when you're preloading decisions is you understand that clarity is what often boosts motivation to act on things. When you are clear about something, you're most likely to do it. So, therefore, also remove any nonsensical steps and automate where possible. If you want to make sure that your investments are done regularly, make sure there's a DDAC on your account. Don't give yourself the stress of having to make a decision of moving your money on a regular basis. Actually, just transfer the money directly through an automated process. So, where you can automate things, do it. Okay, where it is possible to automate, do it so that you don't have to start making decisions. So in other words, reduce the amount of decisions you are going to make, because every decision is 50-50 that you'll get it right or get it wrong. So automate your decision. I don't know if I can try and throw this question at you, Stephanie. Do you have any decision, like whenever you're trying to do something positively, what preloaded decisions do you have, or what automation do you start to put into your life?
I think for me, what I get to automate is, I think, positivity.
What I mean by automation, Stephanie, is where have you pre-decided certain things? Is there, like, for me, one of the things I've done on the weekdays is that my computer will just switch off on its own at 23, because I've told myself I have to get more sleep. And one of my worst habits is that my computer, I keep working all the way through into the night. So I've just programmed my computer to just automatically start shutting down. So at 22:55, I know that my computer is switching off, and 5 minutes time, and there's nothing I can do to change that. So that's a preloaded decision. So I've already preset it. I can't get around it. My phone has got programmed locks on it, so I can't use certain apps at certain periods of time because I've pre-decided what work I need to do. I've also got a schedule which sits down and says, Munyumba, at this hour you need to work on this in the office. So there's a period of time I have to work on a specific thing. That's a preloaded decision. So I was asking is, what examples of preloaded decisions have you created? There's automated decisions, like running a business. You decide that you have to automatically save things into a gratuity account so that you do automatic savings. What are preloaded decisions? And I'll give you a simple example, Stephanie. Why did a lot of people rush to their NAPSA to go and get money? Because that's the only place they had any money. And why was NAPSA the only place where so many people had money? Because NAPSA was a preloaded decision. You don't decide, Stephanie, whether 5% of your money is going to NAPSA. That's a pre-decided thing for you. So where there are preloaded decisions, there tends to be a lot of progress. That's why I was asking, what preloaded decisions do you use in your day-to-day habits?
None.
So perhaps that may try and look at. And yes, it's very important to have preloaded decisions so that you can try and use them. The other thing also is habit stacking. So in other words, habit stacking is when you say, in order for me to do something, in order for me to remember to do something, I'm going to connect it to another thing I already do. So if you're trying to increase water intake, maybe what you'll say is, if I'm trying to increase my water intake, I will drink 500 liters of water before I have any meal. 500 milliliters, not liters. 500 milliliters of water before I have any meal, and also after. I don't know. Some people say that's unhealthy. They'll tell you it's not healthy to have water before your meal. I get it. I understand. Perhaps a different method. But the point I'm trying to drive at is connected to something you already do. Okay. So whatever you're trying to achieve, connect it to something that you already automatically do. It helps increase habit memory because it's already an existing routine. So you don't have to create a new routine. That's where the problem comes. And connect new and old, connect new to old to create what we call a familiar surprise. In other words, weave it into your basic routine. So Stephanie, have you ever actually tried to stack a habit on top of a habit? And what was your stack a new habit on top of an existing habit? And what was your experience?
It was very good. I did, Munyumba. So I have a habit of reading. So I used to read a lot of books. So I realized that spiritually I needed to grow as well. So what they do, I switched. I started to at least read the Bible as well. So for me, that experience was very good because it was already a habit, but I had to just easily switch. On top of that, I think, like I did tell you earlier about workouts. I think that also helped me because then I divided 15 minutes for each. So usually I'm motivated by reading. I'm highly imaginative, so I read a lot. So of course, 15 minutes I would actually do some reading while I'm still in the spirit, still get to do my workout. It used to work out pretty much good. then I would manage.
That's good. You approached it with something that you were already doing. So one of the questions we're going to keep asking our audience here is, what are your experiences with the habit strategies we're talking about? And that's a question we talk to anybody. You can call in, you can text in. What are your experiences with habit strategies? It's very important to know how your mind works. Now, the other things you want to do, Stephanie, is to make it attractive. People like to do things they enjoy. People like to do things they want to do. So I always say customize it for enjoyment. Okay, customize something for enjoyment, and you're likely to want to do it over and over again. But at the beginning, you'll struggle. So find it. So if I
Mm.
have to figure out how to make it attractive at the beginning, and also to make it easy. Now, one of the things you can also do to make something attractive, Stephanie, is turn it into a game. People respond to when things are a game or a competition. It brings out a lot more focus and activity in us. In fact, one of the best ways, Stephanie, to teach a child to do something, like whether it's trading stocks or trading assets, is to make it a competitive game. Kids learn very quickly in a gamified competitive environment, and human beings are actually very good at that. We're very good situational learners as opposed to academic learners. So that's why experience is such an important thing for us. So make it enjoyable by also making it something that can be situational as well, and
Should
also
we pick up a call, Munyumba?
please go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
This is Mr. Alex from Tendida East.
Mr. Alex from Tendere East. Munyumba, I hope you're able to get him.
I can hear.
All right. Okay, Mr.
Yeah,
Alex.
I do agree when Mr. Mumba said that having so many options in life can lead to a disaster, because that's the root cause of so many divorces. One would say, even if you are here, I still have that other one, not knowing that in the process you lose concentration on the present marriage and you end up divorcing and becoming bankrupt at last. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ironically,
So someone agrees with
that's a
your
very good
comment.
example. No, that's a
Yeah,
very good
yeah.
example. If you that's why even when you make your marriage vows, it says abandoning all others. Okay, I know you people have started to write your own marriage vows, but the original ones were for better or worse, in richer or poor, in sickness and health, forsaking all others.
You
Okay,
know, that's the
I know
statement that is actually, for me, it's like abandon. You know, you might want to think about it again. You look behind. Do I still have a chance to get to run? Oh, I can't run.
you must
Let me
run.
just continue.
Forsake all other options. That's what marriage actually
Yeah.
requires. It's actually correct.
Mm.
Because we don't forsake all other options and we think, well, I've got an option here, I've got an option there. You end up
Yeah.
ruining the thing that you actually have, and you end up failing to actually build it. So you need focus in order to be able to get anywhere. So you have to remove optionality in order for you to be able to have to be able to achieve what you want. The other thing, Stephanie, you should also do is make whatever you want to do easy. So, in other words, remove unnecessary complexity from a decision or from an action. Make it less than 2 minutes to start. In other words, if you want to get your work done, maybe what you need to do is have your to-do list done the day before. Put times to it, and then make sure that, oh, okay, so here's my to-do list. But the worst thing is you can sit there and say, what should I be doing? Having a preset budget also helps you make less decisions with your money, so that you already know where your money is supposed to go. But the moment you get your
Mm.
money and say, I'm going to let my heart decide where this money will go, my friend, I can tell you where that's going to end, and it's not going to end in a pretty place. So you always want
Yeah.
to make sure that you make it easy by already having these things done and easy to do. Preload some of the payments you need to make, where money needs to go, where things need to be done. Make things simple. Always make things simple. Do not complicate your life. Make things as simple as possible, because your brain reserves energy and rejects things that seem complicated. So you often find, Stephanie, that why do I resist doing certain things? It's actually because they're complicated. You've made them very complicated. So always try to bring things down to the simplest way they can be, or at least understand them to make them simple. It's one of the reasons
Mm.
why I always tell people, educate yourself on investing before investing, or get an education, a basic education on it. I'm not saying go and get a thesis, or a PhD on or anything. What I'm trying to say is do a 30-day course, a 20-day course, or something, but make sure you are educated on the thing you want to do basically, because once it's easy to understand, your brain gravitates towards doing it. The other thing is
Yeah.
make it communal. Find other people who do what you want to do, and because you are the average of your community. Live the right life and live the right life. So in other words, join the community where the desired outcome is the norm. So whatever you want to do, if that's the norm of what everyone in that community is doing, then go to that community. But this is why you also have to break out of your comfort zone, because your comfort zone often is packed full of people who are doing the things you don't want to do, while your desired zone requires you to go to a community of people who are doing what you want to do, and that's the norm for them. Then your body will take over and try and do it. And finally, make it repetitious. The word potentiation means connections in our brain get stronger with repetition. Neurons fire together with neurons that fire together wire together. In other words, what you do consistently will then eventually consistently be done. So make it, and that also makes it fun and easy to do. So the more you do something, the easier it also becomes to do it. So quickly, Stephanie, I wanted to go into the table of habit efficacy. So I want to talk about 5 powerful triggers, because the most important thing about a habit is discovering the triggers that you need to put into it. So the first one is a time of the day. So habits that are triggered by a certain time of the day, e.g., morning time triggers you to use the bathroom. Okay, so there's certain times of the day where you do certain things consistently. And then therefore and this is often because you are subtly conditioned to do it either from your previous environment, from the social circles you hang out with, or your upbringing. So therefore you have to learn, Stephanie, that when you want to do a habit, allocate a specific time to that habit and stick to it. So if you say, I'm going to do my budgeting every day at 22 hours, then do your budgeting every day at 22 hours. Then one day, when 22 hours comes, you'll start saying, where's my budgeting book? It's time for me to do my budget. Like your body will automatically start to do these things. The second thing, Stephanie, is location. So habits are triggered by a location. For example, walking into a kitchen makes you want to eat. Walking into a restaurant makes you want to eat. So perhaps if you don't want to eat as much, perhaps stop walking into the kitchen so much. That's where the dangerous part starts to become. So our minds are associated with a specific need that being in an environment or a place resolves. So it'll just tell you, oh, I'm in a kitchen, time to eat. So I'm in this place, time to do this. So allocate a location also to your habit. So remember why I said preload the decision, allocate a time and a place to it. This is why you do that, because time and place are actually powerful triggers. So if you consistently do a specific habit in a specific time or a place, you will start to see that time and being in that place, all you have to do is take yourself to that place at that specific time, and your mind and your body will start to do the rest. Preceding events, Stephanie, events that are triggered, that trigger a habitual response, e.g., your notification bar on your phone. You get that notification, your immediate reaction when you hear the kunk of WhatsApp is to pick up the phone.
You will see the phone. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a preceding event trigger. So when something happens, so if you want to check your phone less, you know what you do? Deactivate your WhatsApp notifications. You have to do that. In order for you to check your phone less, or to get into the habit of checking your phone less, I lock my phone. So even if I get into the habit of actually wanting to do WhatsApp, and I'll show you this very quickly. I've actually got, I don't know if anybody will be able to see this, but I've got my WhatsApp open here. I've got my app here. So if I try and click WhatsApp, which is there, the little one in the middle, you'll actually see it just goes straight to a block function. There's a block screen that comes on. That's an app called Blocked. And what it does is, and that's set to stay like that until 8:45. I can't use my WhatsApp on my phone until 8:45, and at 10 o'clock in the morning, it reactivates the block again until 13:30. Then it keeps it blocked until 15. It keeps it unblocked until 15 hours. 15 hours to 18 hours, it's blocked again, and that's a continuous cycle. Then comes the nighttime when I need to sleep. Again, it's blocked again. I can't do it again. So what you'll notice is that by doing that, by unblocking the preceding event of getting into a habit or into a loop. So through time, we have developed systematic responses to certain events, and that's wired our brain. So you want to use habit stacking. So when you want to do something, you got to stack a habit in front of it. What I've also done, Stephanie, is also learned to put layering. If I don't want to do something, I'll have to put 7 steps between me and that. So remember I said that if you want to avoid snacking, then lock something. So in other words, let's say you want to eat bread at night. You know those bread baskets that have a lock. So lock it.
Yes.
Put the key somewhere far away, so that if when you want to snack, you have to think, I have to go that side, go and get the key, then unlock. It's fine. I'll leave it.
It's okay.
So,
I'm good.
So if you want, and if you want, yeah, so that's the way you can actually do it. So either you can stack your habits you want with things you already do, or you can layer things between it so that the preceding events don't do anything. Mood, Stephanie, is another habit trigger. So it's actions that are associated with emotional states. Maybe you eat when you're depressed, you shop when you're bored. Maybe one of the reasons why you shop a lot and you don't know where you finish your money is actually because you're bored. When you're so bored at work, you're in that mood where you're saying, let me just spend my money, I need some excitement. And you haven't noticed that. So this is often a response to a negative emotion. It's a protection mechanism that our body puts in. So the first thing you need to start doing, Stephanie, is journaling your moods. If you can journal your moods and you become aware of how you respond to certain moods, then you can either put things in front of it, or you can trigger that to do something else. Okay, so now when I'm in this mood, when I'm bored, this is what I will do instead. And you have to now start noticing when you are bored. And finally, Stephanie, people you surround yourself with can play a very important role in your habits and behaviors, because you are the sum of the average 5 people you spend the most time with, because of something called a mirror neuron in your mind. You imitate people around you very easily. Your accent, your speech patterns, everything, the words you use, Stephanie, a lot of that is associated with the people you are around a lot. So surround yourself with people who have the habits that you want to achieve yourself. So that's what we're talking about in terms of the art of the start of the good habit. And we've talked before about also building a goods framework. But one of the final things I'll put here today, Stephanie, is picking the right cue. The key is to keep to choosing a successful cue is to pick a trigger that is very specific and immediately actionable. So it tells you to do something now, not 10 minutes from now, not 30 minutes from now. It says, do it now. Okay? So it has to be something that is specific to that requirement and immediately actionable. And also, you have to experiment with these triggers a lot. Play around with them, and your these 5 cues that we were talking about earlier, and you'll see what works for you. And that, Stephanie, is the roundup of what we're talking about today, and why we've been talking about habits, and why we've been talking about building the right set of habits is because if you want to start building good financial habits, and I just want to quickly also share this towards the end. Remember that here's the list of the financial habits of the millionaire class. If you want to build these, then ask yourself, what is the time that I should be doing the things that make me avoid or do this? What is the place? What do I need to stack it next to? How do I need to make this easier? How do I build a community around it? It's very important to look at the triggers that make you do the negative or can help you do the right thing. And with that, Stephanie, I close out today. I don't know if you have any final thoughts.
I think for me today, my reminder to those that are listening is that create a habit, and obviously do it now.
Do it now, but also understand how your mind works so that you can create the actual ecosystem to automate those habits, make them easy to do and easy to repeat. But with that, Stephanie, I wish you a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow. God bless.
Thank you, Munyumba. See you tomorrow. And of course, to those listening, it's